In the deep woods of central Alabama, there are ruins. They are the skeletal remains of an industrial giant, a place of fire, sweat, and iron that rose from nothing to arm a nation at war. The Brierfield Ironworks forged the iron heart of the Confederacy, providing the armor for warships that battled for the soul of America. But when the fires of war were finally extinguished, something was left behind. They say that in the shadows of these ruins, the ghosts of the past still linger, waiting to tell their story. This is the story of the Confederate forge that armed a war. To really get Brierfield, you have to understand the crisis that created it. By 1861, the American Civil War was raging, and the new Confederate States of America was facing a huge industrial disadvantage. The North had factories, shipyards, and a vast rail network. The South mostly had agriculture. If the Confederacy was going to have any hope of survival, it needed to build an industrial base, and fast. The lifeblood of this new industry? Iron. In a quiet hollow in Bibb County, Alabama, a group of planters led by Caswell Huckabee saw their chance. In 1862, they established the Bibb County Iron Company, taking advantage of the rich ore deposits and vast forests of the region. They built a massive stone blast furnace, 36 feet tall, and a rolling mill to shape the raw iron. The work was brutal, dangerous, and relentless, all of it happening under the immense pressure of a nation at war. The iron they produced was exceptionally good. A contemporary expert called it the toughest and most suitable iron for making guns above any other iron in the South. This reputation quickly reached Confederate officials in the capital of Richmond. The iron from Brierfield was essential. It was used to forge powerful cannons at the massive arsenal in nearby Selma, including the Brooke rifles that armed Confederate forts and warships. Most critically, Brierfield's iron was destined for the armor plating of a new generation of naval superweapons, the ironclads. Among them was the legendary C.S.S. Tennessee. Built in Selma and outfitted in Mobile, the Tennessee was a formidable floating fortress, over 200 feet long and clad in thick layers of iron forged at Brierfield. She was designed to break the Union blockade and challenge an entire fleet by herself. This ship, one of the most powerful warships the Confederacy ever built, was armored with the very iron smelted in Brierfield's fiery furnaces. The strategic importance of the ironworks was not lost on the Confederate government. In 1863, they seized the facility, paying its owners $600,000 in Confederate currency, which had a much lower value than U.S. dollars, and renamed it the Bibb Naval Furnace. They poured resources into it, building a second, taller brick furnace and a dedicated railroad line to get its precious cargo to the front lines faster. At its peak, Brierfield was reportedly producing 25 tons of iron every single day. It had become the industrial heart of the Confederate war machine, a symbol of Southern ingenuity and a major strategic target. And up north, the Union generals were taking notice. By the spring of 1865, the Confederacy was collapsing. The Union Army was determined to crush the South's last remaining ability to wage war and set its sights on Alabama's industrial heartland. Major General James H. Wilson, a brilliant Union cavalry commander, assembled a force of over 13,000 men armed with advanced Spencer-repeating carbines. His mission was simple: find and destroy every mine, mill, and furnace still supplying the Confederate armies. This campaign would become known as Wilson's Raid. On March 31st, 1865, Wilson detached a brigade and gave them their target, Brierfield. In the early morning hours, the Federal 10th Missouri Cavalry, led by Colonel Frederick Benteen, rode hard from the town of Montebello. They were met by a small Confederate cavalry force, which was quickly scattered in a brief skirmish, now called the Battle of Brierfield Ironworks. With the defenders gone, Union troops swarmed the complex. For them, this wasn't just another target, it was the engine of the enemy's war effort. These furnaces had created the armor for ironclads that threatened the Union Navy and the cannons that had killed their comrades. The orders were carried out with cold efficiency. Within minutes, the great ironworks were in flames. Wooden sheds, railroad trestles, and mighty bellows all were torched. The fires burned so hot they cracked the stone of the furnace itself. In just a few hours, the industrial jewel of the Confederacy was turned into a smoldering ruin, its role in the war over forever. After the war, there were attempts to resurrect the giant. Josiah Gorgas, the former Confederate chief of ordnance, bought the site in 1866 and tried to bring it back to life. For a brief time in the 1880s, a visionary railroad man named Thomas Jefferson Peter managed to create a local boom, and Brierfield was optimistically named the Magic City of Bibb County. But the magic wouldn't last. The rise of new, more efficient steel furnaces in Birmingham overshadowed Brierfield's old brick and stone technology. On Christmas Eve morning, 1894, the furnace at Brierfield blew out for the last time, its fires silenced for good. The site was abandoned and left to the mercy of the elements. The forest slowly crept back in, wrapping its roots around crumbling brick and silent machinery. The place that once roared with industry and war fell quiet, but some say it never truly fell silent. The history of Brierfield is a powerful reminder of how ambition and conflict can shape a landscape. But the story doesn't end with its industrial death. Many believe that the intense emotions forged here, the desperation of war, the brutal labor, the shock of destruction, left a permanent scar on this land. Hey, if you find stories that connect history with the sites we visit today, take a moment to subscribe. You won't want to miss where we go next. Today, the Brierfield Ironworks Historical State Park preserves what's left. Walking through the site is a surreal experience. You can stand just outside the massive brick furnace, now open to the sky, and touch the walls that once contained an inferno. You can trace the path of the old railroad and see the stone piers that once held up a bridge carrying tons of molten iron. Nature is reclaiming the site, with trees growing from the tops of crumbling walls, but the sheer scale of the operation is breathtaking. At the entrance to the park stands the Absalom Pratt House, a pre-war home that survived Wilson's fiery raid. It stands as a silent witness to everything that happened here, a relic from the time before the furnace, and a survivor of its violent end. Brierfield Ironworks rose from a desperate need, burned with incredible intensity, and was extinguished in a blaze of war. It armed a navy, fueled an arsenal, and became a prime target for destruction. Today, its ruins stand as a monument to a chapter of American history that is both fascinating and tragic. All day we've been chasing furnaces, and we finally found one. A reminder that sometimes the best parts of a road trip aren't the ones you plan. They're the ones you stumble into. And something tells me we'll be back here again. Thanks for joining us on our journey through Brierfield. Stick around to find out where we went next, and hit that like button if you'd like to see more places like this. In the meantime, get out there and explore the world your way.